Hello everyone, this is SRC 543 here with something a little bit different. This is Topps' Hot Button Baseball. Actually, regards itself as a baseball collectible card game, which I guess is technically correct, a little bit lower on the end of complexity. It The cards in this game are actually made of acetate, so very durable plastic. They're also kind of bendy. You got a front and back, mostly mostly not too weird for a baseball card, but the coloring is very flashy, and with all the outcomes and stuff printed on the side, it definitely feels like it's a game piece targeted more towards kids. And like the well-known baseball card game MLB Showdown, you have all the outcomes depending on your role on on the side of the card. Each card has both normal rolls on one side and special ability rolls on the other side. So this is a Dontrell Willis with the pickoff abilities. So it's a small chance of picking a batter off instead of having them hit off of them. The way this ability works, it's a little bit confusing as opposed to a real pickoff, but we'll get to that later. And to play with these cards, you have this simple little machine. So we got a toggle for third base, second base, and first base, and also toggles for the outs and runs scored. So here's the runs for the home team, cycles from 1 to 19 and resets, and here's the inning toggle. Oh, actually, this is the outs toggle, so it goes up to 3. Kind of hard to show that off in action with my finger covering up. And here's the inning toggle. Push it 4 times and set to 5. So one really nice thing about this does keep track of the score and base runners without a lot of materials, which is really something a lot of tabletop card games struggled with. So it's one aspect you do have to appreciate. And then the real juicy part of it is the hot button. And this is what determines the outcomes of the players and batters. Another thing I'm going to have to kind of maneuver around so you can see it. So first, the pitching player pushes the hot button to pitch. That starts off with a roulette. Don't think these have anything to do with the outcomes. It's just kind of for just to know that you have it going. Then the batting player pushes the hot button when they're ready. So you'll have the players enter it in, and depending on which light lights up, that'll determine the outcome of that at bat. And the real tricky part about this is the lights do not light up in anywhere close to an even order. So the ones near the top here, they'll light up about 20% of the time, and the bottom one here will only go off about 1.5%. And then these 3 around 5%, and these 4 around 10 or 15%. And I actually have a documented test of about 500 sample size that I'll post in the description with a bunch of other over analyzing regarding this game that you can check out in the description. So with that in mind, why don't we go ahead and do a little test run of maybe a half inning or an inning here. So we'll start with Kerry Woods, 63 overall. He had a really good season in 2004, which these are loosely based off of, but the stats don't really show there, and he's actually kind of terrible. He also has a high heat ability, which increases his strikeout rate, but it also throws in a home run on his outcome sheet, and it's near the top, so it gives that up a lot. So probably won't be using that much, even in that test run, but maybe show it off just to show how it works. There's a red home run right there. It's hard to read from this camera. Little low quality webcam here, but the good outcomes are on green and the bad outcomes are on red. And here you can see on his normal chart, he's actually fairly likely to get good outcomes when he's pitching. The bad outcomes are unlikely. But the problem is on his side, you want good outcomes because on the other side, the batters will also be hoping for good outcomes. And that brings us to our first hitter, JT Snow. I think played for the Red Sox for a while, but he's a giant here near the end of his career. So mostly green, a little bit of red here. So if he wins, you are probably getting on base. But if Kerry Wood wins, pretty good chance you're still getting hit, which kind of shows that Wood is a little bit on the lower end here. And interesting about Snow is even though he's rated as a 68, he's actually fairly consistent hitter, and we can turn him around here for his make contact ability. Note that the only red here is a ground out at the very top, so he's going to get on base at nearly a 50% clip no matter what pitcher is going, so he's a pretty potent card. One of the better cards in the starter deck. So some special abilities are restricted, and JT Snow's make contact you can just use whenever you want. So we'll start with that. So enough talking. Let's face these guys off. All right, we landed on the green for JT Snow, and it's actually on the number 1 spot. So not too surprising there. The most common spot on the board. And we can click the single toggle to put JT Snow on. And then we just flip them onto the bottom of the deck. So there are no relief pitchers in this game. So Kerry Wood's in it for all 3 innings, which is the normal allotted game time for this. Of course, you could sub pitchers out. There's 30 to choose from, so you could have some starters and relief pitchers to simulate a game. But I think they're more going for a pick up and play type thing. Here is Sean Burrows, another guy with a make contact ability, which is unrestricted. So we'll go for that. Try to flood the bases a bit. We'll do the hot button twice. And another single. So just bad luck on Kerry Wood's part. Nothing that's his fault yet. So with the runner going from first to second, we'll push the second base toggle. And next we have Moises Alou. Pretty good veteran hitter, played for a lot of different teams. And he actually has this power surge ability, which is really overpowered in this game. And actually you can only use it once per inning. So it has an inning restriction. So power surge, lots of red and green, but for this one, whenever you hit a green, it's a home run. So home runs being about 3 times as valuable as singles in baseball, or 2.5 times. It's a lot more valuable to singles, so it's pretty powerful when it goes off. So we're gonna use that. And Kerry Wood's gonna cross his fingers, and he gets the strikeout, the second highest outcome on his chart. So we have 1 out. Next is Mike Lowell, and he is definitely going to be making contact, get some base runners in. Lots of green on that make contact chart, though. There's a couple reds near the top here, so it's only about 70% that he gets on base, even if he wins even if he gets the light on his side of the chart here. So we'll click the hot button again a couple times, and ooh, it is a flyout for Mike Lowell. So no runners advance from second or first. And it looks like Kerry Wood might survive this one. Finally, we have Coco Crisp, the best name in baseball from 2005. And he has the steal ability, which works differently. You don't activate it during the at-bat, but you actually do it after. And actually, all the pitcher sides ones count for successes. So even though there's only 2 green spaces here, he's still about 65% to steal a base, which isn't good, but it's close to usable. Unlike unlike how you'd be able to tell from the card. Also note he has the star here for speed. There's a little excerpt in the manual that if you have at least 5 players with speed or 5 players in defense, it's supposed to help you in the game in some way, but as far as I can tell, this wasn't incorporated in the game, so just something I was like lost in communication, I guess. Alright, and Coco Chris is going to try and get some runners in. We're going to hit the hot button a couple times. And it is a strikeout for Kerry Wood. So Kerry Wood survives here. It strands a couple runners. So we will take the runners off the base. And we will reset the outs to 0. And I guess we'll let the other team bat. So let's switch these guys around here. Next up is Dontrell Willis from the sample earlier, or little demo earlier. And on the batting team, we got Darren Erstad. Had a really high batting average earlier in his career. Kind of settled in as a utility guy later on. And he is also a base stealer, so we will be demonstrating that ability if he gets on base, and maybe demonstrate it anyway, even if he doesn't. So we will hit that hot button a couple times, get that roulette wheel going. And we got another pretty common outcome, third near the top here. It's a ground out, so he won't get on base, but if he did, I'll show off the steal mechanic here. And basically, if Erstad gets on base, he can use steal to advance an additional base, which is not exactly stealing, but does a good enough simulation of that, I guess. And you'll just do the hot button again. And anything on the pitcher's side counts as safe. So in this case, it'll be a successful base steal for Erstad. The only unsuccessful one is this red spot right here. So he's actually quite a high rate base stealer in this game. But alas, that's all theoretical. He is out. Next we got Juan Bihier, another base stealer. Not nearly as high as his success rate though. We got one out. And we're going to hit this hot button a couple times. And we got a fly out. So that is 2 outs already. But we do have one of the best guys in the game here in Lance Berkman. It's kind of the premier card in the starter set to get you interested in buying. He's one of the best cards in the game. He's a 94 overall. But more importantly, he has the power surge ability, which I was kind of trying to sell you guys on earlier. So not only does he have multiple green spots for power surge, but they're all near the top, which means he's pretty likely to get a home run. So let's see if Lance can get a walk-off home run here for this little mini game. And no, it is a fly out. So both these pitchers rolled pretty well and prevented any scoring. But, hey, theoretically, you could try this a few more times. And hey, it would have been a home run if we tried again here. And let's see. One more. Should I show off one of these? Yeah, let's show off the pitcher ability real quick. I didn't get to use Kerry Wood's high heat, which is pretty straightforward. So instead of his normal outcomes, we'll flip him onto the high heat side. And we'll just have him face Orlando Cabrera real quick. So Kerry Wood, lots of green, but he leaves himself pretty vulnerable with that home run near the top. So if he wins a coin flip, he usually is going to get guy out, but It's also going to give up a lot of home runs for a pitcher. So, I'll just show that off real quick. And it didn't even matter because it landed on Orlando Cabrera's. So anyway, that is kind of the gist of Hot Button Baseball. It takes a little while to play. Still way faster than a real baseball game, but with all the inserting and taking out of cards, it's definitely faster with two people than by yourself, especially when you don't have to push these buttons from weird angles to get the camera work going. Anyway, I hope that gives you a solid picture of what this game is like and how the game flow works and how this little device tracks scores and determines player outcomes with the lights. Hope you found this interesting, at least a little bit. One thing I do want to note is the audio in this unit is on mute. Or rather, it's on, but it doesn't work. So I don't know if there's like a little slot machine jingo that goes off when you're playing it or something, but you won't hear it in this video. So maybe sometime I'll have a working one and I'll be able to show that off. Anyway, that's it for Hot Button Baseball. Thanks for listening. This is SRC 543 signing off.